Hey guys, it's me Slugdog. I'm a Challenger OC Yorick main and I've been Challenger every single season since Season 7, and I've gained enough mastery of Yorick to realize he's one of the most underrated champions in the game, and he can most definitely operate not only low elo but even the highest level of play very effectively. He's one of the strongest 1v9 champions in the game, and he's a very unexpected dark horse in League of Legends right now. Yorick also has one of the most unique playstyles in the entire game. Even other champions with ghouls and AI, such as Annie, Malzahar, Ivern, none of it is like him. He can do multiple things at once. He can do ghouls while grumping, grumping while ghouls are attacking Krugs. Lots of unique stuff. You can be attacking the enemy Vex with your ghouls while you're sucking off Tryndamere and beating him up as well. Anyways, moving on. This will be a guide explaining the basics of Yorick, how his skills work, the most basic and effective builds on him, how to play the early, mid and late game, and also give a few pointers on how to pick him up to play and add him to your champion pool. Now let's quickly go over the basics of Yorick's abilities. Now let's get started with Yorick's passive. Yorick gets access up to 4 ghouls which are spawned from graves. These ghouls follow Yorick passively and attack nearby enemies. Graves are created every time he kills something with Q or every few minions nearby deaths. These ghouls are the bread and butter of Yorick and is around half of Yorick's damage. Knowing how to manage them is what separates the intermediate and advanced Yorick players. One tip of Yorick I can offer for beginner players is to never ever fight unless you have ghouls. The difference between Yorick with 0 ghouls and 4 ghouls is massive. You could be losing up to 2 or 3 times as much damage, and Yorick without ghouls only has Q and E as a damage source, which is pretty much nothing. Now Yorick's next ability is his Q. His next auto attack deals extra damage and heals a bit of health, increasing when you're below 50% health. Whenever he kills something with it, it spawns a grave. This is one of Yorick's main damage source and is incredibly powerful after you get a few levels in it and a few items. You're always gonna max this first because it's his only damage source outside of ghouls, and just because of the fact that it works really well with Yorick's main items like Triforce and Sunder of the Sheen items, and it has really good AD scaling. One small tip I'll offer of Yorick's Q is the fact that it's an auto attack resetter. It may seem really simple, but a lot of people don't utilize this fact properly and also have a really clunky auto Q mechanics. Tell you this, practice the auto Q and practice doing it really fast. It's going to be really important because it's going to affect your tower breaking skills, 1v1s of champions, CSing, everything. It's the most vital thing about Yorick, and it'll help you a lot if you can do a super fast auto Q. Now onto Yorick's next ability, and probably my favorite one of his kit, his W. All it does is Yorick spawns a breakable cage. Now this might seem really weak, but it's arguably probably one of the strongest abilities in the entire game. It has insane versatility because it spawns terrain which your teammates can walk by. This means Yorick can use this as a defensive tool to kite around in and out of the cage, or even go really aggressive, put around the enemy and just kill them, get them stuck in the cage, alright? Now this ability has pretty much an unlimited skill cap. It's what separates the most best Yorick and the bad Yoricks, right? The only tip I can give is to be really creative with it. You gotta think outside of the box. Sounds kinda weird, considering it is a box. Okay, we'll move on to that, right? Think about it though. You can block out entire entrances of entire areas. If an enemy tries dashing on you while you're inside the cage itself, they'll be stuck in the cage, right? So you can kite in and outside of it and just bait them in and stuff like that. How you use it is really important. You only get 1 per fight usually, so you gotta try and make the most use out of it. It's a fun skill to use, but a very punishing one if you don't know how to use it properly, yeah? And the next ability is of course his E. Yorick throws a rectangular shape of dark mist, dealing % health magic damage and causing the enemies at the target location to take increased damage from ghouls and to also be targeted by the ghouls. This is Yorick's main way of engaging and also poking the enemy. It allows Yorick to deal with ranged matchups, and it's also one of the only ways you can manipulate the ghouls AI. To play Yorick, you're gonna need to know how to land this, so I'll offer some quick tips on how to land it, yeah? The biggest tip about that with landing E is to always throw it when the enemy is distracted. For example, when the enemy is getting a CS, mid-animation of a skill, then it's a perfect time to throw E and try and land it, alright? The second tip I want to give for landing Yorick E is if you're closer to the enemy, the faster Yorick E is going to land. For example, if you throw it at the base of your feet, it's of course going to land a lot faster than if you throw it at max range, right? So try to get as close to the enemy as possible before you toss your E. Now the final ability, Yorick's ultimate. Yorick summons a few ghouls and the Maiden of the Mist that follows him and does magic damage to whatever Yorick attacks. Any enemy that dies in its range spawns a ghoul, and whenever Yorick hits something Maiden has attacked, it also does increased % health magic damage, similar to something like Callisto W. Now this is Yorick's second main damage source. Maiden provides a crap load of damage, while also allowing Yorick to get a steady supply of ghouls constantly. It's super strong because it provides the magic damage Yorick needs so that enemies can't stack armor. Now moving on to skill order. Skill order is going to be very simple. Alt over Q, and then depending on the champion, if they're mobile or not. If they're mobile, you're going to go E max after your Q. If they're going to be very immobile, you're going to go W max after your Q. For summoner spells, we have two options, TP Flash or TP Ignite. TP Ignite is really good if you want to get early game kill pressure, and it's the strongest in snowballing. It's also really good against champions with lots of healing, for example Aatrox, Irelia, Fiora, stuff like that. TP Flash is for when you need flash. For example, if you're playing against Vega, you're never going to be able to get to him because he's going to have E, that's where you can flash over it. Against a lot of range champions, flash is really good in. It's the very general rune, and I highly suggest all your Yorick players to start off of it. But as you get more and more comfortable, TP Ignite is going to be your best option. That way you can snowball early, get those kills, get those plates, and then snowball and just win the game from that. Alright, moving on, let's go into runes. This will be the main rune page for Yorick. You're going to be calling Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Bloodline, Last Stand, Demolish, and Bone Plating. Conqueror is really good because it gives you really strong sustained fighting. When you get bonus AD, it gives the AD to your ghouls as well while you're fighting, and the sustain is really nice because Yorick has very little, only his Q. But overall it's just the best rune for damage wise. There is no better option, you can't go wrong with Conqueror. Triumph for clutching out those fights, really nice. Legend Bloodline because as Yorick we don't have any sustain except for a Q, and it scales really badly. That's why we want Bloodline. It's going to give us sustain in mid game because we're not going to build any anyways. Last Stand for clutching out fights as well. You can go coup de grace if you want to. It doesn't really matter. And Demolish is really nice because Yorick's main identity is split pushing. You're going to be split pushing the entire game. Demolish is going to help you with that. It's going to help you get early game plates. It's going to help you break T2 tower for that sweet 600 gold. It's going to help break those Nexus towers real quick so you can backdoor. It's just the best rune on Yorick, and it's not even close. Now for the last one, it's flexible. You can go bone plating against a lot of bursty melee matchups, stuff like that. Second win against a lot of ranged poke, and conditioning if you're confident that you can scale and you don't need these two to survive lane. Unflinching is going to be really nice for you if you don't want to build mercs, but you need tenacity. For example, let's say the enemy has like 5 AD champions, but they have a lot of CC. Then you'll go tabbies and then you go unflinching. Now moving on to the Yorick builds. Itemization on Yorick is going to be quite simple, so let's just start off real quick, alright? We're going to go Longsword or Fillable as starting items. Longsword is really broken because it builds into every single item we really want. But the most important part about it is that it gets into Hullbreaker really nicely. So after we get Longsword, Hullbreaker becomes 2.4k gold. This is really good because that means we can get it before anyone else does, before anyone gets their first item power spikes. So imagine this. You're playing Yorick with a Hullbreaker, the enemy is at Sheen Phage. You're going to be obviously much stronger than them. You have much better stats, and you're going to do a shitload of damage with towers. Right? Very broken. It gives you lots of damage, gives you lots of defense. Now onto our first Yorick build, it's going to be this, right? Triforce is going to be really nice. Makes the Q really strong, works on towers, perfect, right? We're going to go Steel Cap, or we're going to go Mercs, depending on the matchup. Steel Cap is generally good against all AD champions. Mercs is good against magic damage champions, a lot of CC. Now the next item is going to be Grudge. Grudge is really good on Yorick because Armor Pen works against towers, gives us ability haste and damage, but the most important part is the slow. Now the reason this slow is so important is, oh, why does it matter? Your E already slows them, right? The thing is, ghouls slow them as well. This makes it so that your ghouls slow them when they attack the enemy. Now this makes it a really nice combo because it's going to let you be able to chase enemies down, poke a lot more harder with that Armor Pen. It's just perfect, right? Your ghouls are going to be a lot more lethal. Now the next item is going to be really nice. It's going to give us a bit more health and makes our ghouls a lot more lethal. Really good item, just gives us everything it wants. You might be thinking, oh, double armor pen item, don't they like work badly together? The fact of the matter is, these items are so good on yorick, it's just good to build them both. That's how insane they are, right? Now last item is really flexible. You can go an MR item, death stance, GA, a lot of good options, right? I tend to go GA a lot because late game GA is the most important, but stone plate is definitely one of your best options as well, right? Now next build is gonna be not that much different, but a very popular one that I really enjoy playing. Obviously it's gonna always be a Hellbreaker first item. Eclipse is really good in yorick. The reason it's so good in yorick is because it gives you the lethality for that massive cure pressure against squishies, but also it gives you a little bit of tankiness because of the shield you get from Eclipse, right? It also gives us sustain as well, which is really good. Now I've got a Cleaver as well. Cleaver works really nice with Eclipse. Cleaver lets you lower their armor into the Eclipse lethality smash of this, right? Really beautiful combo. Gives us the ability haste that we're missing from our first two arms as well. Gives us a bit of tankiness, beautiful. And then Death Stance. This is flexible for more Mormorius and stuff against Clipchamp champions. Death Stance is just insanely good item. It's going to give you a lot of healing now that we have a lot of AD in our items, right? And it's just going to make you really tanky and annoying to deal with. Obviously last item GA. You can't go Stoneplate in this build just because it doesn't have much health. This can also be flexible with another tanky item like more Mormorius. But other than that, this will be the build, yeah? Now the last build I have is going to be Prowlers. Now, funnily enough, Prowlers can be intermittently put in the first item as well. You can go first item. But you should only do this when you're hard snowballing. Hard snowballing against a squishy champion. Next item is going to be Grudge. Armor Pen works really well with the lethality you get from Prowler's Core. The reason why Prowler's Core is so good is because of the Mythic passive. If other items are lethality. This, in tandem with this, makes it so that you're going to have like 40 or 50 lethality at the end game build, but you're going to be having a lot of armor pen. You're going to be really tanky. It's just really broken overall, right? Lets us also gap close against a lot of champions, which is really important because Yorick has no dashes, right? This is a really fun item to play with in general as well. It's really nice, yeah? And we're gonna go Death Stance. Sometimes I go Cleaver depending on how tanky they are, but Death Stance makes you a lot more tanky, so that's why I like it. And GA always is the last item in this build. Because we're going such a fragile build and our only tankiness is in Hellbreaker Death Stance, GA is really good because ghouls are gonna be active while you're dead as well. It's gonna be really important for the backdoors as well. Now here's all the legendaries and items you should be really going only. Serpent's Fang gets a lot of shielding, Mormorius against MR, Death Stance against a lot of AD, GA as the last item, Cleaver is just really good, Chemtech's a solid item as well, heavy AD, if you're snowballing really hard, solid item if you're snowballing a little bit-ish, and Stoneplate, if you're going a bit of health but you want a lot of tankiness, Stoneplate's amazing, and Bramble if in very niche scenarios, if you're really behind and you need Grievous Wounds, Bramble is a really good option, yeah? The general progression I'm going to give for the builds though is to always go this build. Once you get a bit more comfortable with Yorick, go Eclipse, and after you become really comfortable and proficient, you understand how to get ghouls and how Yorick works, that's when Prowler's is going to be your best bet, yeah? Alrighty, so now I'm going to move on how to play the different phases of the game as Yorick, and what to do, and how to make an advantage, etc., create pressure, and how to just win the game from different positions, yeah? In the early game, you're going to be looking to play very safe. That is until you get 4 graves in the area. When you got 4 graves, whether you get them from passive or Q, you can start to play backwards. You can start to fight back. So usually if the enemy tries to walk up to threaten you or something, you can respond back with a Q and walk away. And once you have 4 graves, you can start to E and then fight back. And if the enemy has a dash, you wait until she or he uses a dash, and then you W. If they don't have a dash, you W and just instantly start threatening them, right? Remember, a lot of Yorick's damage in early game is in his ghouls. It's not in his Q, it's not in his E, it's in his ghouls, right? So if you fight without ghouls, you're going to be losing a lot of damage. That's why a lot of Yorick players find in common, and whenever I review VODs, a lot of Yoricks I see try to fight early game and they just die for no reason, alright? Just a small reminder to always auto attack reset with Q. Early game, it's really important because you don't have that much damage, and every single bit of damage you do to the enemy accumulates. After that, you might get a kill or 2. Regardless, you're going to try to get level 6 ASAP. Once you're level 6, all the power goes to you now. No one in the early game can beat Yorick with made in 4 ghouls, alright? So then you can start pressuring them, and if they ever try to fight, you just kill them because you're level 6 Yorick with made. It's about playing like, it's like playing against 2 champions when you have made in 4 ghouls, right? No one will beat you. After you pressure them and get a bit of money, you can start to get that hull breaker really nicely, right? Hull breaker rush is really broken because you're gonna be such a massive stat stick, no one's gonna be able to beat you. And if the enemy tries to like, I don't know, kill the maiden, you can threaten them really hard because you're really tanky with hull breaker, right? You do a lot of damage still. You're gonna use that combined with cannon waves to threaten the tower and to threaten plates. You can try to hit them on the tower a little bit, maybe poke them. Just be careful to know your limits, and you can get those plates. Just a reminder that if you can ever kick them out of lane by poking or something, you're gonna be able to get plates, and you're gonna get a lot of money from demolish and hull breaker and just hitting the towers. Yorick, right? Yorick does a shitload of damage to towers. Now let's go over the mid game. In the mid game, you should always be in the side lane. You're gonna be threatening the tier 2 towers. You're gonna be on the opposite side of the main objective. So when Baron's up, you're gonna be bot. When Dragon's up, you're gonna be top. You know? Always stay away from the main objective and stay away from your team. You wanna be alone. You don't want anyone near you. Now you're gonna look for opportunities to get that tower. For example, when the enemy's fighting, skirmishing, you know, do a little tussle at Baron, you're gonna be fighting, right? You're gonna be trying to get that tower. You're gonna be attacking when the enemies are fighting for your team, so the enemy's forced to make a decision. So they're gonna deal with you and lose objectives on the other side of the map, right? So they're gonna lose Dragon or Baron, or they can try to keep team fighting. But regardless of how the team fight goes, they're gonna always lose out on the side lane. That way, you'll always get something in return, even if you win or lose, right? Now, let's say there's someone dealing with you. What do you do then? If someone's dealing with you, you're gonna try to look to get camps, take some money XP, and you're gonna look to push. That way, that laner is forced to do nothing. He can't do anything, he can't help the team or anything, right? And you can start threatening him if ghouls, poking with E and poking with Q. Just be careful to take it slow. You're in no rush, right? As long as you're conscious of the map and you understand what's going on, you'll be fine. For example, if there's 3 people missing on the map and they haven't been sighted for a really long time, that's when you have to play safe. But let's say you see 4 people in the map, right? You can start pushing. Now let's say there's a few missing, but you know they just showed on the map like 3 seconds ago, right? You know they're gonna be in that vicinity and you're safe for a little bit. Always play in vision. Always play with awareness. I have some videos going over that are a little bit more in depth because tracking the enemy isn't just a one-dimensional thing. It's very a lot of nuances to it. If you ever struggle with it, if you're ever curious like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, feel free to ask me, DM me on Discord, come on my Twitch, feel free to ask questions. Anywhere in the comments, it's completely fine, I'm down to answer, right? Now the late game for Yorick is the exact same as mid game, but the stakes are much harder. Instead of fighting for, you know, dragons and barons, these dragons and barons are a lot more important. So that means your pushes are going to have to be a lot more important too. So what I mean by that is you're going to be threatening to end the game rather than trading towers. For example, let's say Elder Dragon's up, right? If top lane's fully pushed up, you're going to keep them pushing and threaten to end the game. Because it's going to take them a really long time to finish Elder and to return back home, right? Because Yorick's going to push so much more fast in the late game because he has items now, right? Be a lot more careful because if you get caught out, it's very likely you're going to lose a main objective as well. But vice versa, the enemy has to be very careful too because you can just threaten to end the game straight up. Now for our last part, we're just going to go over combos real quick. They're nice and simple, so it will be quick. Alright, so the first combo is really simple. Auto Q. Do it as fast as possible. It's going to be the most important combo. Auto Q, you're going to do it lots of times. You're going to fuck it up sometimes, but it's okay. You get better as you go, alright? And the next combo is going to be Auto QW. So the reason why this is a combo is, what the fuck, Scuttle? Is you can just use the Q animation during your W. It's going to look, it'll hide the W animation of putting your hands up, so it'll show real quick. It's a lot more hard to see. Our next combo is going to be E Auto Q, so we're going to E Auto Q. The reason this is a combo is because when the ghouls leap from your E, your Auto Qs be going off at the same time. It's going to be a really big shock of damage, right? Again, we'll show it E, and then we're going to be Auto Q. Alright. Now the final combo you're gonna be using is the most common one. It's the one you're gonna use every single game. So the main combo, the E, W, and auto Q. This is the perfect setup. It wraps them around a box. They can't do anything. Ghouls hitting them. Again, the E, auto Q. Alright, and then ghouls will beat them up. Really good combo. That's it. And that is pretty much all the yorick combos you really need. It's the very basic ones. It's all the combos you need to know. Nothing more. Nice and easy. That's a really good thing about yorick. He has very little combos. His stuff is short and simple, short and sweet. Nothing complex like a Chinese Lee Sin kick wards up. Nothing like that. Just E, auto Q. Maybe put in the W every now and then. That's it. Anyways guys, that's the end of the video. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. I spent a fuckload of hours on this. And I really gotta appreciate it, right? As usual, if you guys do enjoy this video, please leave a like, comment, you know, share it with your friends or something, subscribe. I really do appreciate it. This is something I've been working on for a really long time and I wanted to put out. So thank you for enjoying my content. Remember, if you guys have any question, feel free to put it down in the comments. I read all the comments, even the negative ones. I probably won't reply to those ones, but like if you're gonna ask a question, yo, how can I do this? I'll gladly help you out. But if you ever want to ask me personally, feel free to message me on Discord or just come on my Twitch. You know, come on my Twitch, talk to me there. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching, and as usual, have a nice day and good luck.